What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. I am so glad to be bringing this episode to you all because it's going to be a cottage garden tour. By far, the most common question this year has been, Luke, what happened to the cottage garden? Where is the cottage garden? And so, short story short, life got in the way. Between the store and the garden at the house and us putting out daily videos, I just could not stretch myself so thin. And so we did come up here. We came up here to plant it. June 3rd we came up here, and it's only been about a month. So everything does look a little bit less impressive than it does at the house, but that's because we can only get up here when we can get up here. And to be honest, we've only been up here twice. So for how great the garden does look, I can attest to the systems that we've put in place that are still working for us. And that's, I guess, a huge takeaway from this episode that I want you all to understand is that, this garden is not a maintained garden. This garden is not something that we come up and work on a daily basis or even a weekly basis. In fact, like I said, we've only been up here twice this year. Twice. Once to plant, and then once to pretty much do some preliminary weeding, and that has been it. The garden has not been watered by hand. It's been watered by rain and dew because we put in our cores in our core gardening method. I'd recommend using that method if you're someone that can't get to your garden and water on a daily basis, or someone that wants to conserve water. It is an amazing method that we've used and implemented in all of our beds, and it's a way that we've really not had to water whatsoever. We just watered when we planted them initially just to keep them stress-free, but other than that, the cores have just been doing the work for us. And we also had really good soil, really loose, rich soil that the plants could just take off in. And after a preliminary weeding, all those first initial spring weeds that popped up, there's really not been many more weeds, which has been great. And so let's go around, let's check out what's been happening. So the tomatoes are just exploding with growth. So up here at the cottage garden, we do not single stem our tomatoes. We just don't get up here that often to stake them and to keep maintaining them. So we actually use the Florida weave method, and we will stick a stake down at the end and a stake down at this end, and then we'll weave some twine through them to stake them up. We have videos on that in the past, and you can check them out. They're awesome videos, and it's a great way to get your tomatoes up if you are someone that this method works better for. And we just love this. I mean, the tomatoes are just loaded. We've got so many flowers in here. There's just tons and tons of flowers on here, and the plants are just bushy as heck. So the trifecta we threw here in here initially is just doing great. No nutrient deficiencies, no yellow leaves, definitely great. Then the cabbage. The cabbage is just amazing. I have never in my life seen cabbage leaves so big in my entire life. Check out those cabbage leaves. That is my foot for reference, and it just does no justice. These are absolutely massive. They're probably the biggest cabbage leaves I've ever seen. And we do nothing, absolutely nothing. The potatoes, they're doing great. The potatoes are just thriving in this heat. We planted them June 3rd, the actual potato sets, so they were really, really late. But I was shocked when I came up here because I said, the potatoes are barely gonna be coming out of the ground. I was imagining them to be about this tall because they take about 3 weeks from putting them in the ground till they sprout. And then once they sprout, they grow fairly slow until then they get established. Then they just take off like a rocket. And they're kind of already in that rocket phase now, so they're doing awesome. They're just starting to flower, and that's a good thing because that means they're forming potatoes. So I'm happy. I'm definitely happy. My parents are going to get a really good harvest of potatoes out of these. And the zucchini, wow, we only planted 3 zucchini plants because zucchini, pretty much one plant will feed a family of 3. So we planted 3 plants so we could have some for the soup kitchen, and they're doing great. I mean, they're just exploding. The green on these leaves is just something else. I mean, they are deep, deep green. The trifecta really kicked in because when we planted these, they were kind of anemic, kind of yellow. They were some of our leftover plants from our garden, And I know I picked my best to put in our garden, but it's because I don't know how well stuff is going to do up here. So obviously I'm going to put the best in our garden. And we put kind of the weaklings, the runts in the garden. And these plants are actually outgrowing some of the ones in our garden. The trifecta has just absolutely taken hold. You can tell because the leaves are super green and the plants are just loaded, absolutely loaded with flowers and fruit. And it's just terrific. I think we've already harvested 3 zucchinis from these plants and they are just producing. And tell me about this tarragon. This tarragon is almost as tall as me. Granted, it's in about a 2-foot tall fire ring that we planted in, but they are just massive. And on top of that, we also have some other herbs that are thriving in here as well that don't like as hot of weather. The tarragon just loves the heat. But some of our other more temperamental crops, like our oregano and our sage and mint, as well as our parsley, they're doing wonderfully as well because it's actually almost kind of like, it's just a perfect little intercropping where the crops that don't like the heat, they're growing at the bottom there. They're doing fine. They don't need as much sun. The tarragon is loving it as long as we keep it kind of pruned back so it doesn't completely take over. Everything is coexisting here well, and it's growing itself in this little fire ring, this 24 inch high by 3 foot wide fire ring. And also this galvanized metal is wonderful because it doesn't rust. It just stays as amazing as it was the first day we bought it. And so everyone has been asking us where we got these, and it is probably one of the most common questions we get for the cottage garden is where did you get those and what are they? So as I just said, they're fire rings, and people use them in their backyards and in state parks and things like that to contain fires, but we got them at our local hardware store. At the end of the year, go around like fall, early winter, they'll have them on clearance because obviously no one's putting in fire pits then, so you can get them for super cheap. We got them about 60% off, and they normally would have been about, I think, $60 or so, but we got them for $30. It was like $30 and some odd change for one of these, and it is an investment that will easily pay for itself because these, you can grow a lot of food in these. So definitely pleased with our herb bed. And this chaos is what happens when you let dill go to seed. So this is our strawberry bed, and we had some dill go to seed, and it's kind of just made this its home, which is fine because we absolutely love dill. It is wonderful, and oh my gosh, this is a 3-year-old dill. It is grown and self-seeded and grown and self-seeded, and it is just so resilient. I absolutely love this. We're gonna harvest all this and take this home. And actually, check this out. Oh my word. You guys gotta come check this out. This is amazing. So check this out. Look what I just found. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Those are about the biggest strawberries I've ever grown, and we haven't done anything up here. Oh my goodness. This is just amazing. I have not done anything, folks. Nothing. I've completely neglected our gardens up here. Completely neglected them. And just look at the abundance. Look at the abundance. Look at this. I'm gonna get all these. Oh my gosh. Oh my word. That's even bigger yet. That is absolutely massive. Folks, nothing. I've done nothing. It's overgrown with dill. It's got purslane, which is edible, by the way. We've just neglected our beds, and they're thriving. They are absolutely thriving. So I had to stop the camera and just pick a bucket of strawberries, and let me say, I have never in my life seen a strawberry so big. This is the largest strawberry I've quite literally ever seen. And there's more. And there's more. These strawberries are so big that I think we're gonna have to get a real-time reaction from the family as to what they think about these. Mom, close your eyes.
Oh, are those strawberries? You picked me strawberries? I was gonna come pick. Grandpa's picked some off and on. Wow, they're huge!
I know. Look at that one.
They're huge and they don't even get touched. You know what I mean? Just,
We didn't do anything.
I know.
So there's the garden tour. Pretty much everything that you saw is what's worth showing. The rest of the stuff is really small. We have some corn over there, just some little bits of corn that didn't do so great, but it's still growing. We have lots of tomatoes, 3 whole beds of tomatoes with a little bit of kale there, and then some celery in the back with some stray tomatoes and some peppers and some other stuff like that. But really, it is what I showed is just the showstopper. And honestly, oh my gosh, was it a showstopper. So I'm glad you got to experience that with me, because I honestly had no idea whatsoever, because I didn't even see them in there because they were all hidden by the dill. But the rest of the stuff here, like I said, is just a lot of tomatoes, because at the store, for those that are local that want to come out, we're at some point later in the season in August or so, we're going to have an heirloom tomato tasting party at the store. And so that's what all of these tomatoes are for. We have so many different varieties of tomatoes. I can't even go into it now, but we have about, I think, close to 30 varieties of tomatoes, and it's going to be just a ton of fun. So I hope you all will stay tuned. Remember to subscribe if you're not yet already. I hope you all enjoyed. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home, because it doesn't take a lot of work. And we'll catch you all later. See ya. Bye.